Hello aspirants, welcome back to the fascinating world of anthropology. So friends, in today's discussion, let us try to understand one important concept in anthropology, that is animism and deep ecology. So friends, if you talk from the perspective of religion, so in religion there is a concept called as primitive forms of religion. So that exists in various tribal societies and peasant societies. So I hope you know that. So in that there is a topic called as animism. So let us try to understand about the animism, and let's try to understand about how the concept of animism is interlinked with the concept of deep ecology. So in fact friends, this was a previous year question also, so which was been asked in 2021. So let us try to understand this particular thing in a systematic fashion. So first let me show you the slides and then I'll explain it on the board so that you can just grasp it very properly. So just have a glance. So if you see from the perspective of both the terms, animism and deep ecology. So animism and deep ecology. So these are two important aspects. So let us try to learn them in a systematic fashion and then let's come back to these slides. So first let us see what are these two things. So when we see from the perspective of from anthropology, so there are like human beings are intricately interconnected with the nature. So animism and deep ecology. So these two are actually nothing but they are two distinctive perspectives. They are two distinctive perspectives to understand the concept of human-nature relationship. So this is what you have to remember in the first instance. So try to understand that. Basically what is animism and deep ecology means. So animism and deep ecology are nothing but two distinct perspectives which we can use to understand the concept of human-nature relationship. So friends, it is a well understood aspect that in nature, in anthropology, we can see that human beings are intricately interconnected with the nature. So these two approaches or these two perspectives will help us to understand that relationship that exists between the human and nature. So let us try to understand them, both of them, in a systematic fashion. So first and foremost thing that you have to remember is that so both animism and deep ecology are two distinct perspectives to understand human-nature relationship or relation. So that's what you have to remember for time being. Is that clear? Now let us try to understand each of the approaches or each of the perspectives. And now first let us try to begin with the concept of animism. So what is animism? So friends, animism, when we see from the perspective of animism, so first the word animism has been coined by the scholar E.B. Taylor. So mostly you might have heard about the name E.B. Taylor. So Edward Bernard Taylor, who is also regarded as one of the pioneer anthropologists, and he is also regarded as one of the father of cultural anthropology. So that's E.B. Taylor's credentials. So E.B. Taylor coined the term animism. And as we are discussing it from the term point of view, so in fact the term animism has been derived from another word, Latin word, that is animus. So here the word animus refers to something that is known as spirit or soul. It refers to spirit or soul. So basically E.B. Taylor has picked this particular word from the root word, that is animus. So now from this perspective, if you see how we can just define or explain the word animism means, animism can be basically described or explained as it is a belief in existence of spirit or soul in all the natural entities. So this is what basically animism is. So in simple fashion, how we can say animism means, animism, it is nothing but it's the belief that everything that is there in the nature, be it could be living things or non-living things, that possess spirit. So that's what the basic essence or basic meaning or basic definition of the word animism. So here we are saying that it is a belief which states that there something that is spirit exists in each and every thing. So that is one important aspect that you have to remember. So from E.B. Taylor's perspective, if we see, so what E.B. Taylor said. So E.B. Taylor called animism as one of the most primitive form of religion. One of the most primitive form of religion. And in fact, he said that religion as a social institution has been evolved from animism onwards. So animism and then animatism and then like we have different other aspects. So that's how E.B. Taylor has explained this particular aspect. So here when we see from the perspective of the animism from religious belief point of view, so we have understood that the word animism has been derived from animus, which means again spirit or soul. So how E.B. Taylor has further explained it means, he said that animism, it is nothing but it's a practice of belief in worshipping the souls or the spirits. So this is what basically animism refers to. So it is a practice in which we believe that we will worship the souls and spirits, because it is understood that everything in the nature that is that possess spirit. So from that perspective, we should start worshipping them. So now the question is that why we should worship or why we should believe in such kind of things. So that is the question, and that is one another important aspect that we should know. So when you try to understand that particular thing, so what E.B. Taylor did. So E.B. Taylor tried to explain this from two important processes in the life. So one important process is nothing but he just explained from the perspective of the concept of dream, and other important process is nothing but it's the process of the death. So what is this dream and what is this death? So E.B. Taylor tried to interpret the animism from the perspective of the two important processes of the living organisms. So let's see, so what he has tried to say. So usually try to understand this concept that what will happen in dreams and what will happen in the death. So he tried to interpret this from primitive man perspective. So he said that primitive man might have observed that while the man is going to have undergoing dreams, so in dreams there would be something that leaves from the body and which roams around the world and which again return back to the body when you awake. So that something that left out of the body could be generally considered as the soul. So what he said, so in dream what generally happens is that soul usually, that is soul leaves the body, that is human body, leaves the human body and returns back when awake. Okay, so that's how he just interpreted from primitive man perspective. He might have felt this. And same thing when we observe in the death point of view. So here what happens if you see from the perspective of the soul, so usually soul leaves the human body and it never returns back. Never returns back. So that's why we will be declared as a dead person. That means if soul is present in the body, then only we can have life. So that means what you can understand. So imagine in this situation, so if soul doesn't return back here, so you may become dead. So if you want to be alive, so then you need to have something that is known as soul. So this soul is very much important for life. So from this perspective, soul is very important. So you have to just retain it for your sustenance of the life. So what E.B. Taylor is trying to say is that, so primitive man might have observed these two concepts, that is death, doom and death, and there he might have interpreted that soul is very, very important. And what he further stated that, so by observing these two aspects, so primitive man might have feared of soul, because it may leave and if it won't return back, then he can be declared dead. So that's how. So then out of this fear, primitive man, he might have started worshipping worship of souls or spirits. So if you see from the perspective of spirit, again spirit is nothing but when the body leaves and when it enters into the nature, then we will call it as a spirit. So here, by observing this entire concept, so E.B. Taylor has proposed and he conceptualized this concept of animism. So in very simple fashion to say, everything that is there in the nature that possess spirits or that possess soul. So be it could be humans, be it could be the plants, be it could be animals, be it could be the rocks, be it could be the rivers, so be it could be even man-made objects. So everything will possess the soul. So that is what the entire concept of animism. So I hope it is clear to you. So is it clear to you all? So try to just give in your comment section. So that's one thing. So now let us try to understand the concept of the deep ecology. So before we proceed to understand deep ecology, let us try to understand what is ecology. So what is ecology? So when you try to understand the concept of ecology, so my dear friends, most probably most of you might have well versed with the word ecology. So if you see from the perspective of environment, so in environment there could be lot of living aspects and non-living things. So living things we will call it as biotic components. Non-living things we will call it as abiotic components. So if you see from the perspective of living organisms point of view, so living organisms will interact with the surrounding nature, isn't it? So now when we try to systematically study the relationship that exists between living organisms and with that of the environment, that refers to ecology. So in simple fashion to say, ecology refers to the systematic study of the relationship that exists between living organism with the environment. So that is one thing. So I hope you are clear with this particular aspect. So when you see from the perspective of the ecology, so friends, ecology can be broadly divided into two types from the philosophical angle point of view. So if you see from ecology point of view, so for one type of ecology is basically known as shallow ecology. Okay, so one type of ecology is known as shallow ecology, and other one it is known as deep ecology. Is that clear? So there are two types of ecology. So if you see in the nature, so one it is known as shallow ecology and other it is known as deep ecology. So when you see from the perspective of shallow ecology, so generally to say shallow ecology if we talk from the perspective of it. So it's nothing but it's a shallow concept which advocates for short-term conservation of the ecology. So in nature, if you see, so it is shallow in nature. So what is shallow in nature means? So it advocates for short-term conservation of ecology. What do you mean by short-term conservation of ecology? That means it advocates that, let's say for example, in environment, so human beings will cause a lot of pollution. So what this particular concept advocates is that, so it tries to advocate how we can conserve the nature and how we can protect the nature from the effects of pollution. So it tries to advocate such kind of shallow aspects. Are you getting that? So that means it focuses on the aspects of pollution and resource management. Focuses on the aspects of pollution and resource management. So this is what shallow ecology deals. That means how to just contain or how to abate the pollution. So how to reduce the impacts of the pollution, or how to just manage the resources efficiently, and how to just make them sustainably utilized. So all such kind of aspects will be dealt under this shallow ecology. So this is one thing that it focuses. So then if you see from the perspective of it, so as it is primarily focused on the human-centric point of origin, that means we need to utilize all the resources, but we have to just contain the pollution. So it is in fact what we can say, it is a kind of, or it is a type of anthropocentric concept, because it primarily rests its focus with respect to the human beings. So it keeps the humans at the center and it tries to understand the concept of ecology, and it focuses like that. So that is anthropocentric concept. So that we can say. Now what it do, it tries to seek the reforms within the existing system or current system. So it doesn't look for any sort of fundamental changes in the existing aspects, rather reforms in the things, so that it sees. So that is what basically it is, nothing but the shallow ecology. So friends, I hope you have understood the concept of shallow ecology. So it is one such ecological perspective which advocates for short-term conservation of the ecology. So that is one thing. Then if you see from the perspective of deep ecology, so friends, what is this deep ecology means? So deep ecology, in fact, it is nothing but it is a deeper concept in ecological understanding. So it seeks to have long-term establish, or it advocates, actually it's a deeper concept. So what does it tries to do? So rather, instead of talking about short-term conservation, so deep ecology, it focuses or it advocates on deep and long-term ecological balance. Long-term ecological balance. So if we want to sustain the nature there, like if we talk from human and nature relationship point of view, there should be a long-term ecological balance. So if we want to have long-term ecological balance, so what we should do? So we have to fundamentally change our perspectives and our attitude towards the nature. So from that point of view, what it does, it seeks for some sort of fundamental changes in the lifestyle and fundamental changes in something that is known as the values. So that is one thing. Then what it further says, so it focuses on pollution and resource management, whereas what does it focus? It focuses on transforming the entire human-nature relationship. So that is very, very important thing. Okay. So what it do? So it seeks for transforming the human-nature relationship on whole. So this is what it intends. So that's the basic aim and objective of it. I hope you got it. Then if you see from the perspective of its nature, so friends, try to understand deep ecology, what it tries to do. So deep ecology, it's a kind of ecocentric approach, or in fact we can say it is a kind of ecological or ecocentric approach, because it is advocating from the perspective of ecology at the center. So it is trying to preserve or maintain ecological balance in long-term manner. So these are nothing but two forms of ecology. I hope it is clear to you. So why am I explaining this? Means without understanding what is deep ecology, we cannot proceed further. So now let us try to understand deep ecology and how we derived from in the realm of studies. So when you see from the perspective of deep ecology, so deep ecology is nothing but it's a modern concept. So let us try to understand now specifically related to the concept of deep ecology. So what is this deep ecology? So the concept of the deep ecology has been proposed by a modern environmental philosopher or a Norwegian philosopher known as Erne Noyes. So there is a scholar called as Erne Noyes. So Erne Noyes, he is a Norwegian environmentalist. And he advocated the concept of deep ecology as a modern environmental philosophy. So what he said, so according to Erne Noyes, so he said deep ecology is nothing but it's a belief that, try to just have a look at this, that it's a belief that everything in nature possesses some intrinsic value. Everything in nature that possesses intrinsic value. So as be it could be the living things, or be it could be the non-living things, be it could be humans, or be it could be plants, be it could be animals, or be it could be rocks, be it could be rivers. So everything that is there in the nature, it possesses some intrinsic value. So that means everything will have some sort of a kind of inherent value. So that's what deep ecology tries to say us. So when we are saying that everything that possesses intrinsic value, so now what we have to do? So as everything has some value irrespective of its utility to human beings, so we have to conserve and we have to everything in the nature in a systematic fashion. And when we try to conserve everything that is in the nature, be it could be rivers, be it could be rocks, be it could be wind, be it could be all sorts of resources that are available, then we can establish something known as ecological balance. So by explaining such kind of concept, what Erne Noyes says is that, so you have to understand the concept of deep ecology, and the deep ecology is nothing but it's a modern concept which believes that everything that is present in the nature will possess some intrinsic value. So as everything that possesses intrinsic value, so you must and should conserve it to establish long-term ecological balance. So that is what he says. So from that perspective, you can remember this aspect, that so deep ecology is one such aspect. So now what are the relevances that you can see? So deep ecology says that everything in nature possesses some intrinsic value. Whereas animism, what does it say? Animism says that, so everything that is there in the nature, that possesses, belief in that, everything that is present in the nature that possesses soul. So this is one sort of the correlation that we can establish from both the concepts, animism and deep ecology. First and foremost thing what you have to remember, so first and foremost thing you have to remember that both of them are perspectives to understand the nature and human relation. So then second thing you have to just remember that everything, this from the essence point of view, so everything in nature possesses, it says, like from ecology point of view, it says soul or spirits. And on other side, you can say everything possesses intrinsic value. So this is from the perspective of our animism, and this is from the perspective of deep ecology. So I hope you have understood the essence of the concept of animism and deep ecology. So what both of them will say that, so both of them will advocate that if you see in the nature, so when we see from the perspective of nature, so human beings, that means humans, and nature and spirits. So both, all these three concepts are intricately interconnected with each other. So it advocates that there is something that is known as, there is an intricate relationship that exists between the humans, nature and spirits. So from this particular aspect onwards, we can also derive the concept of nature, man, spirit complex. Nature, man, spirit complex. So this is another important topic in anthropology, because when we study about the humans, we have to systematically understand. So that's about this. So at final or at last, so how we can say that? So although these two approaches are distinctive in nature, so these two things, animism and deep ecology. So if you see from the perspective of them, so as we have understood, so both of them are the distinctive perspective, are distinct perspectives in understanding human nature relations. Human nature relations, but both of them are complementary to each other. Both of them are complementary to each other. So this is what, how we can conclude this particular topic. So they look like they are distinct distinct concepts with respect to understanding the human and nature relationship, but despite of that, they both are complementary in nature. That means one cannot exist, or if we are talking about deep ecology, there would be something that is known as the animism. So like that. So this is what the entire concept of animism and deep ecology. So friends, this was a question that was being asked in previous year, that is in 2021 also. So try to understand such kind of questions, because in anthropology we can expect some repetition of the questions. And animism is one such important area, so where we can expect it again. So this is what from my side for the day. So now you can just have a glance. So animism, now you try to understand the concept. Animism is nothing but it's belief that everything in the nature possesses spirit or soul. Now can you able to connect it with? Now try to just understand what is deep ecology. So deep ecology is an environmental philosophy that argues that everything in the nature that possesses the intrinsic value. So intrinsic value of the nature. So that is one thing. So what does it focuses? So it focuses on transforming human-nature relationship, and other thing, it is an ecocentric concept which seeks to fundamental change in values and lifestyle. So this is what we try to understand. So then if you see from the perspective of examples, so there are so many movements that are happening around against the deforestation and industrial exploitation. So be it could be Chipko movement, be it could be APCO movement, be it could be so many forest movements. So all of them, and some other movements against the protection, against the exploitation of the ecology. So that is deep ecology. So you can see core principles: intrinsic value of the nature, biospheric equality like interconnectedness, or reduction of the human impact, or activism for ecological harmony. So they are all nothing but some of the important principles. So if you see core beliefs, so spiritual essence in all things, so that is what it advocates. So then interconnectedness, so you can see this kind of animism in certain tribal societies. So if you see from Japanese tribes, so there is a practice called as Shintoism. So Shintoism, where they will try to worship and they will try to believe in certain spirits. So that is Shintoism. So in the similar fashion, there are so many tribes, even in India also we have Bills. So Bills also will follow such kind of animism. Santals also will follow such kind of animism. So they are all nothing but examples for animism. So friends, that's all for today from my side. So let's meet in another session with another important topic. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you all of you for watching.